Hey everybody, Donkey Storm here, and today we're going to do a tank guide and route for the Sanguine Depths. This guide is designed to be very pug-friendly and doesn't require a lot of coordination to pull off. It's done from a Guardian Druid point of view, but should be applicable to all tanks. If you're looking for any UI, weak aura, or add-on stuff, be sure to check the link to my Discord in the description. It's all in there. And if you like what you see today, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Helps me out a lot. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so here we go. Right out of the gate, we've got some pug fun where we get no countdown for a pre-incarn, which really hurts as a druid a lot, but we're going to make it work anyway. Typically, you'd want to use your pre-pull incarn on this first double pull, so grabbing the first and second pack over to the lantern and using your pre-pull incarn here. You could also pull 3 packs, and then you would probably stack both your first 2 incarns to make sure that you survive through this, but this way is a little bit safer. So we're going to combine 2 packs, we're going to keep them in the lantern here, and then just incarn and rotate defensives as necessary after the incarn goes out. Nothing too big to note about this pack. These skirmishers do cast this animate weapon spell, which is nice to stun out if you can. So we're going to get up to 8 stacks here. That's pretty decent from the lantern. And we're going to use those stacks to blast through another pull. So here I'm going to use my actual incarn to combine these 3 guys with the Insatiable Brute. I'm also going to grab the tick from around the corner here. This is a little bit dangerous because of that first ability that those Mist Dancers cast, the Echoing Thrust. So what you want to do with that is face it away from your group, sidestep the ability, and then move back into that spot to create as little surface area for those things as possible. Now you might notice that I'm stepping on some traps here. I actually want to do that intentionally while I've got Incarn running at a key level like this. This is an 18. It's not going to hurt too bad, and it kind of makes room for your melee to operate here a little bit. So as a tank, sometimes you can take one for the team and just kind of step in those traps to create space for your melee. As you can see in this video, we're running the very meta comp of 2 Beast Mastery Hunters and a Fury Warrior. You know, who's not doing that these days? So next thing, we're going to grab the Tormentor, line of sight him around the corner here, and do the typical Varuth thing of stacking and spreading. And we're going to pop our Heart of the Wild here, try to get a Convoke off. I think my first little pop there, I might have forgotten it was off cooldown, but I am still going to get a Heart of the Wild Convoke out, so no big deal there. So Sanguine Depths has gotten a lot easier since Season 1. Back in Season 1, I would say this was, without a doubt, the hardest dungeon. I definitely don't feel that way anymore. I feel like this is a very timeable dungeon these days. They've nerfed it a lot. So we're going to get our power here. We're going to take Stygian King's Barbs for some extra damage, and then we will skip through this room. So we have to wait for the Brute to pass. Even though I have stealth, one thing I noticed is that sometimes when I stealth and just run past him, my group just like follows me, and sometimes they'll pull him, so still being a little bit careful there. And now we're going to grab this group of ticks. The ticks do an Engorge spell that you definitely want to kick, stun out, CC as often as you possibly can. You really don't want that going out at all, so we're going to do our best to keep that cast from getting off on anybody. And it's a nice opening in Sanguine Depths. You got a lot of chunky pulls. If you look at the DPS meter, we're all doing pretty well here. Get some very nice incarns off, especially if you actually get your pre-pull incarn. So, pretty fun dungeon. I like this place. I have a good time in here. I would say it's very boss-centric. The bosses are definitely harder than the trash in this place. So typically, if you follow this route, your incarn will be coming up right about as you pull this, depending on the speed of your group. This pack before the boss is definitely a good place to use an incarn, especially on a fortified week. This is a tyrannical week, but we're going to pop it anyway just to blast some DPS down and get this group down a little bit faster. So same thing, we want to kick the engorges and just kill all this stuff getting ready for the boss. So this is bursting. Bursting's not going to change our route too much. There's a couple places where we'll pull a little bit more conservatively than usual, but for the most part, bursting is not going to change our routing here. All right, so Kryxis the Voracious. This boss is pretty tough. I would say he's almost like a bit of a wall to whether or not you're going to pass this dungeon. So as a tank, things to look out for: Vicious Headbutt hurts a lot. You definitely want to have something running for that. You can see even here on an 18, it's gonna do a pretty good amount of work on me. So I like to have a defensive running, and then I like to follow it up with a Frenzied Regen. So right there, we pop a Survival Instincts and a Frenzied Regen just to make life easier on our healer. This is a tough fight for healers. Every Severing Smash, we want to create as much space between the boss as possible, so you can Soul Shape one, you can Stampeding Roar one, and then I think there will be one in between where you'll actually need to just run away, which can be tricky. If you can create a lot of space, you won't need to absorb your orb immediately, but if you don't get far enough away, it's a better idea to just grab that orb if it's in danger of hitting him. So here we're just going to use our defensives on the headbutt. When he casts his hunger, you want to make sure you kick that immediately. So this time we roar. That helps out everybody. No need to grab that orb yet. You kind of want to let your healer feel that out and grab it if you can. I don't like to grab orbs too quickly. So here things are getting a little bit hairy. When that headbutt goes out right after that Severing Smash, got some health bars getting real low here. We're also getting kind of shoved into this corner. So one thing to note when somebody gets the charge, it can be immune. Now this is a complete pug, and you just don't know if people are really going to do it or not. I tend to just err on the side of safety and soak it if I don't know for a fact they're going to turtle it or do some kind of immunity. And that's served me pretty well for the most part, because it seems like every time I say, oh, it's a hunter, I can see he has turtle up, then he doesn't use it and he dies. And I look like the big jerk for not absorbing it. So yeah, I would say when in doubt, absorbency. There we lost one guy. This is a tough fight, especially on healers. You want to try and get this guy down as quickly as possible. Our single target DPS here is not super impressive, but we do manage to get him down. And then with the nice fresh Incarn coming off cooldown, we're going to do a big old pull here. We're going to grab the little gargoyle guys from the room. We're going to grab all the casters, the 2 casters in this room, and we're just going to shred this apart. With Incarn, this stuff doesn't burst. It doesn't bolster, so it's completely safe to do this. We want to try and stun out some of these casts if we can, using our AoE stun, maybe even our high mountain racial. I guess not, but as many casts as you can prevent, the better. And you also want to make sure that if the silence goes off on anyone, you're ready to dispel that curse if you're able. So as a Guardian Druid, if I see anybody get silenced, I want to get that off them immediately, because it's a big DPS loss or complete lack of heals. So we don't want that. All right, so we finally have a little bit of a break here. This dungeon starts off quite fast-paced. So we've got this Sentinel. You just want to kick the Stone Skin, and you can use a Frenzied Regen when he puts a dot on you. Maybe a defensive, but pretty easy mob here. I probably wouldn't want to combine this guy with Sagadon. Just the extra physical damage on that dot might not be a lot of fun. So now we got Sagadon here in the corner. Gonna do the usual Sagadon stuff of try and get a nice big Heart of the Wild Convoke off on this guy to help just get him dead faster, which we do right there. And then, of course, we're always going to take Stone Ward off of Sagadon. Wouldn't recommend leaving him up with General Kaal. That dodge does a lot of damage. You're going to need a lot of faith in your healer if you want to keep Sagadan alive in this dungeon. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not really necessary unless you're really pushing something really cutting edge for your group. All right, so now we're on to these oppressors and overseers. I want to get as many kicks off on these oppressors as we can. And when the overseer does his chain, it's a great time to stampeding roar and just give everybody a little boost to get out of there. So we're going to face 3 groups like this. There's a roar. We're going to get away. We're going to unsilence our healer there. We do not want a silenced healer. That's very bad. So I noticed right here that the warrior is opening the he's opening the lantern, which is not exactly how I would have liked to have done this. It doesn't work out too badly, but ideally what I would have liked to have done would be to pull the next group here, almost have them low, then break it. But because he did that, and I have an incarn coming up right now, I'm going to improvise a bit. We're going to grab these 2 pulls together and just bring them all into the lantern. I don't think the lantern's going to stay active long enough for all this, but we're going to get some value out of it. So you can break this up any way you want. You could pull just the 3 and then do the pack of casters last. This is a little bit reckless what I'm doing here. If I didn't have Incarn up, I probably wouldn't have done it. But it's fairly safe to do with Incarn up. You definitely just need to get the kicks out. We're not getting a ton of kicks out, and that's what's making life difficult on our healers. So we'll see how many stacks we get here. And see, the lantern just closed. That's what I mean. Would have been nice to open it a little bit later. But, you know, this is a pug. This is an 18. That's definitely acceptable. So we're going to sneak around this bridge before the sentinel gets here. And then we're going to grab this group and drag them to either side of this little hallway here. Doesn't matter which, but the reason for that is you want to allow yourself and your group enough space to get away when the overseer does their chains. So you'll see here, chains are going to go out soon. We just run to the opposite side of the room. We don't have a stampeding roar, unfortunately, so we just got to kind of drag ourselves there. Unsilence that healer again. And then we're going to tag Javelin here. The Tormentor will not come as long as you just tag Javelin. So we're going to try and dodge that Tornado Frontal. And if he empowers any of these little grubby dirt cruncher guys, we'll soothe that off of them, and their health will pretty much instantly disappear. So one thing I enjoy about this dungeon is just that as a bear tank, you can do pretty good DPS in here. Everything, it's very dense. You can get some sweet incarns off. So there's an empowered dirt muncher guy. We're gonna soothe him, and you can see he just straight up dies. So that's nice. Nice benefit of being a druid. And this guy has a lot of health. People always get hit by that frontal. It's very hard to see through the mess. All right, so now we're going to take down Arklith. I use my first kick on this guy because I don't want us all stacking those kicks up. That's not good. And we'll get another... I like getting Heart of the Wild Convokes off on these guys. They take a while to kill, so... And DPS tend to not use their cooldowns on these guys too much, so... contributing some DPS as a tank is definitely a good way to go. So we'll get Arklith down here, we'll grab Crumbling Bulwark, and then we will head into the ring, which is one of the trickier parts of this place. Mainly because it's really the only part that's not a complete straight line. So what we're going to do, or how I like to do this, is I'll grab this group with the Warden and pull it over to the lantern. We'll grab this other group to the right. And then we have a little bit of a choose your own adventure route here, where you can alter this route depending on the position of the patrol. and the speed of how quickly your group can kill this stuff. So if I find that somewhere during this pull, the patrol that's coming down the hallway gets awfully close, I will just go ahead and grab that patrol and pull them into the lantern, and we'll get their stacks. What I don't want to do is wait for them. So if this dies, like you can see here, this pool's dying, a patrol is not nearby, we're just going to go. We're not going to wait for them, and what we're going to do is pull a room of ghouls instead. So we will push this guy in here and grab his stacks as well. So we get a 5 stack, which is, you know, good, not great. But we don't want to wait for that, Pat. We're just going to go. So we take our 5 stacks down to the next lantern. We're going to combine some pulls again. All of this is optional, by the way. If you don't feel comfortable combining this much, just don't do it. But I feel pretty okay about it. So we're going to try and get some value out of our lanterns here. Make sure we have aggro on everything. You never know where the sentinel's going to be. Doesn't matter too much. Just kind of deal with him wherever he happens to end up. So we should get some nice stacks off of this lantern. We're sitting on 6 right now. I'm going to keep those curses off people. And things are looking pretty good for our little group here so far. Getting up to 9. There's going to be our 10 stacks. So lots of benefit from that. Now, since we didn't pull that patrol on the previous lantern, we are going to need to pull a group of ghouls here. Now, what I could have done here would be, well, actually, that's coming in a second. Excuse me. One pull first. So since we have this nice big buff going, we're going to double pull this too, of course. We want to get some value out of that. You really want to kick this warden, by the way. That cast that she has, Barb Shackles, can really mess somebody up. So we want to make sure that we're kicking her there. So we'll finish this. We're still going to have a little bit of time on our buff. It looked like a shackle maybe went off there. Or we got a very last minute kick. So, all right. So with 20 seconds, what I probably should have done here is pulled the boss and done this afterwards. So that way we could have gotten a little bit of value out of this. But because we skipped that patrol earlier, we're going to need to kill this room of ghouls. These ghouls can mess your day up pretty good, especially when they enrage like that. So do be careful. This is tyrannical, so it's not too bad. But these guys can do a lot of damage, and I don't mess with them. So you can see there when things you've got even a little bit hairy, I typhooned, which was probably unnecessary, but not the worst habit to be better safe than sorry. So ghouls are going to go down. Like I said, in hindsight, we could have pulled the boss and gotten a little value out of that buff, but only had about 10 seconds left, so not the end of the world. Okay, Executor Tarvold. As you pull him, you're going to want to wait for that red blob to go to the right, and then you're going to get on the inside of the ring. And then as it passes, you'll swap sides. The manifestation needs to die. As it dies, you want to be sort of backpedaling, as you can see here, so that you are avoiding the red blotch it leaves on the ground. We dodge the incoming blotch, and then we move back to the inner part of the ring again. Tarvold is another healing intensive fight. I would say this is a dungeon that's pretty difficult on your healer. And sometimes when those manifestations and castigates like this one go out together, it's really rough. It looks like the same hunter keeps getting it too. Poor guy. So he's in a seed over there. Okay, so we see the blotch come around the outside. We move. We know the inside one's coming soon. And then we move back. It can also help dispel curses during this to take some pressure off your healer. And that's going to pretty much be it. You want to make sure that you keep aggro on those manifestations, help DPS them down, and just keep this guy moving. Once you get really far around the ring, like here, sometimes it can be a little bit hard to remember which thing is coming in which direction, but hopefully you don't have to go too far around. So Tarvold's getting awfully low. As you can see, our single target in this group is not incredible, and there I sort of, in grabbing this manifestation, lost track of the rotating orbs, so it's a mistake on my part, but thankfully Tarvold goes down. In the nick of time, too, it looked like we were sort of running out of gas here. And then we are ready to move down into the next area and deal with the third boss very soon. So with an Incarn up here, we're going to do a little bit of pull combining down here. Try and get to this third boss a little bit faster. We're going to grab this Vestige of Doubt, the Wicked Oppressor, and then the Patrolling Wicked Oppressor, and we're going to combine it with the Tormentor. This is a little bit scarier when it's Sagadon, but not too bad. I find it to be a nice little time saver. I don't want to have to do this in 3 pulls. We got to get some cleave going here. So we're going to combine these guys, and we're just going to kick the oppressors the best we can. Not a big fan of skipping really any of the tormentors in this dungeon. I feel like this timer is really lenient now, and being movement speed slowed or having a physical damage debuff is pretty rough on Kaal. So unless your group is in a position where you just feel like if you don't skip the tormentor you might not time the key, I wouldn't recommend it. And I think if I had to pick one, I would probably keep Sagadon up and just hope that your healer can handle it. Trying to maneuver this fight, movement speed slowed, is pretty rough. Okay, so we got one more pull here. These 2 oppressors, which we're obviously going to be saving most of our stuff for the boss here. And then we'll try and get some kicks off just to help out our healer friend. And then we get to fight Grand Proctor Beryllia, who is just yet another healing intensive fight. So again, we want to be helping our healers out in every way we can. We like those guys. So Grand Proctor Beryllia has a pretty nasty tank buster, which is Iron Spikes. I would definitely recommend you have something running plus a frenzied regen for every single one if you can. It's going to hurt quite a bit. Now, for the Rite of Supremacy, you can get away with 1 orb depending on the key level versus your gear level. You can see there I grabbed 2 and it took me like down to like 90%. So 2 is probably not necessary. So the way I'd play it after that is I'll grab 1, and I won't grab a second one unless it looks like no one else is going to grab it. But if it looks like no one else will grab it, I will go ahead and take that just to help the healer out again. They get real stress during this fight. There's a lot of damage going out, and they also have limited time to move. So there I had 2 spawn right next to me, so I figured I'd just grab them. And again, that takes me down to maybe 80%. And the Endless Torment is a great place to squeeze a little Convoke in. We lost a Hunter there. Probably stood in a swirly. I didn't quite see, but more concerned about surviving Iron Spikes, which hurts a good amount. So I'm not a big fan of using Incarn on boss pulls, but I do use one here just because I figured I could use the extra defensive, and there's just nothing coming up for a while where I'm really going to need it. So I think I do blow an Incarn here. Probably should have blown it a little earlier if I was going to do it at all, but them's the breaks. We're going to just use it there. It's going to help us survive an Iron Spikes. It's going to help us do a little bit more damage. And we don't have any great places to use it up until the Gauntlet, so might as well blow it. I don't like to sit on cooldowns. Alright, so rinse and repeat on a Tyrannical week. Doing the same mechanics over and over and over again while we chip away at this boss. With everybody doing below 7k overall. Or not overall, but below 7k single target on this lady. So she will go down eventually after we survive what seems like our 50th Iron Spikes. And then we can move on to the next part of the dungeon, which is leading up to the Gauntlet. And in this group, we have some added fun during this time. So we're going to grab the shield here. And then we're going to grab this pack right up here. We're going to line of sight them around the corner and just kill them, kick the oppressors the best we can. If you feel like you need to step on a trap to help your melee out, you can do that fairly safely, especially if you drop the Zerali buff there like I did. There's no reason not to right here because you're not going to need it for quite some time. So just using our High Mountain Racial and trying to prevent this stuff from doing what it wants to do. So after this pull, what you want to do is invis. This upcoming pack really stinks, and in my opinion, you never want to pull it under any circumstances. But here's a plot twist to this video. Somebody's going to screw up their invis here, and we're going to have to fight it anyway. So I'm not sure what happened. Maybe we can watch and find out. So we stealth. This Overseer always gives you a peek, which is a little bit scary. And we get to the other side, and we're thinking everything's good. And then, who done it? Oh, it was the Druid. What he should have done is just died right there. What his mistake was, I guess, hoping we would save him, which we do, but at what cost? So this is just super sloppy. I just am not used to ever fighting this pack, so my positioning is terrible. Everybody's running around like a chicken with their head cut off. We are going to get it down. And I probably could have used my Incarn here to make it easier, but I really want to have that for the Gauntlet, so this is a mess. If you attempt an invis skip and it doesn't work, your best bet is to just die. Don't train the mobs into your group, because then either everybody dies or you have to fight the pack that you don't want to fight. Like, you have no business fighting this pack. That's why we're not even going to talk about what to do here, because the thing to do is not fight it. I even considered just turning bear mode off and dying and trying again, but I guess invis pots would have been on cooldown, so that would have been a no-go. But yeah, this is gonna definitely kill whatever chance we might have had at a +2, which I don't think was very good anyway, but because we're way over percent now. Okay, so the Gauntlet you can kind of pull at your own pace. Because of bursting, I'm going to go a little bit slower than I'm used to here, because all the cadets do burst, and it can put some strain on your healer. I say that, then I decided to pull them, or pop Incarn and pull them. Just feeling a little antsy, I guess, after that little miscue we had there. So, and you will see here that as the cadets start to go down, bursting stacks are going to stack up pretty quickly, and I think we might lose someone or get close. So when Kaal gets to full energy, that's when she's going to cast her Doom Squall, and it's time to use your extra action button. So that should never come as a surprise to you. Watch her energy, and if it's getting close to 100, be ready to hit that extra action button. So you got a nice lantern here in the middle. This is where I would typically use an Incarn. I'm not sure why I decided to use it at the beginning. I like to pull everything into the lantern and just pop it. The only reason I haven't grabbed both packs right now is simply because of bursting. I just want to play it safe with that. Because as I assess this key as a tank, I say, looking time-wise, we've got 11 minutes. We are not going to two-chest this at this point, so there's no need to push for that. And we are in good shape to time the key, so I don't feel like I need to do anything too reckless here. If we were really pushing for a +2, I would have pulled the end of this a little bit differently. So we're just making sure we got the Doom Squalls taken care of, and then we will head down to the next group. So to name what I would have done differently if we were pushing for a +2, I would have combined this pack after everything died. Maybe not even after. Probably would have straight up combined it with the next pack. But again, seeing that we're in good shape to time, bad shape to +2, no point. We'll just pull it pull by pull here till the end. Don't need to take unnecessary risks. So we'll just kind of single target down Kaal here for the last 3%, and then we'll pull everything leading up to her. So we got Doomsquall. We'll hit the extra action button. Looks like somebody was a little slow getting in, but looks like they made it. So at this point, if you need to, you'll drop combat. If somebody needs to get rezzed or the healer needs to drink or anything, this pack is not considered part of the gauntlet. So we just got those animated weapons coming out, which can be a little bit scary for people. If you're going to combine this pack with Kaal, it's very doable, but it's not like a complete walk in the park, so just know that before you do it. We've seen all these mobs before in the dungeon, so at this point it's all good. We're almost there. If for some reason you find yourself below percentage, there are bats that fly up and down this hallway that you can pull. Definitely not the way you want to get percent, but if you're below, that is an option. Alright, so last pull of the dungeon. We're just going to head in here, smack this stuff, and then go pull Kaal. Again, this is all mobs we've seen before with the Hunt Masters putting the traps down, the Gargans not really doing anything. So we will shortly be heading on to Kaal with about 8 minutes left in the key. The way these bosses are going, it feels like we're going to need all of those 8 minutes, but we'll comfortably time this key, and we'll just call it a video after we go over Kaal's abilities. So, General Kaal. We need to get her to, what is it, about 50.3%, I think. Things to look out for here. I like to tank her kind of right in the middle, because people will get the arrow on their head because they have a bleed. You want to give them room to get out, and hopefully they don't spread the bleed all over your whole group, which looked like the first couple people there didn't. And then we get the piercing blur. So the way I like to handle that is stand right next to the first one, and as soon as the first one goes off, move into the first one. Now when you see her get to, which is what I just did here, I saw her getting very close to full energy. I hit a stampeding roar. I take her right to the center of the room, because you don't know which edge she's going to go to. And I want to get that Shining Radiance down right in front of her, so that my melee can still do damage to her. So anytime I see her getting close to full, I'm going to take her right to the middle, which means no matter where she goes, we can just run to that edge of the platform and hit that button. And that's pretty much Kaal from a tank standpoint. There's not a ton to do. So what you don't want is to be like all the way across the platform and have no movement speed and just run over there and not get the radiance down in time, or put the radiance in a weird spot that people can't get to. So So that's going to pretty much do it for Sanguine Depths. Guys, there's not much more to say about Kaal. We're going to time this key with about 6 minutes to spare. And if we hadn't done that extra pull, I think we might have had a shot at two-chesting this. Not a great shot, but it is something. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please throw it a like. Give me a subscribe. Really helps me out and doesn't cost you anything. And also check out my Guardian Druid Mythic Plus guide if you want to see more about that. And I will see you guys next time.